Chapter 232. Why do you have the sword body spiritual conduit too? But that doesn't hide the fact that you're shameless. Chen Yiling replied coldly. Your resentment is quite strong, but if you didn't provoke me, would I have done this? Song Shi refused to admit it. If you guys didn't make a move, I would have turned around and left. Chen Yiling pursed her red lips and did accept his explanation. Who asked you to come over at this time? You must have ulterior motives. I said that I was here to exterminate the sacred fire sect. I would have thanked you for exterminating me first. It's a pity that you all actually wanted to exterminate me. At this point, Song Shi felt that there was no need to reason with the woman. He decisively stopped and changed the topic. Other than exterminating the sacred fire sect, you all probably have planned to do this to other sects, right? What does it have to do with you? Are you from the demonic cults? Chen Yiling opened her eyes and stared coldly at Song Shi. Oh, does that mean that you're going to attack the many demonic sects? Song Shi seemed to be deep in thought. How generous, taking advantage of the fact that the people of the demonic sect are occupied by the Wuxia immortal meeting. You guys are secretly ambushing them? TSK. This makes you guys look rather lowly. HMPH, what's the point of reasoning with you heretics? That's not right. You can call the demonic cults despicable, but I can't call you despicable? What double standards? Chen Yiling was stunned and thought to herself that it seemed to be the case. For a moment, she did not know how to refute. Although she felt that this person was right, she would not admit it. She raised her head and said firmly, in any case, there's no need to pay attention to the morals of the martial world when dealing with evil. Then there's no need to talk about morality when I deal with you. In Noteville, Song Shi was speechless. Chen Yiling looked neat and tidy, but why was she so stubborn? He looked at Chen Yiling's face. Her skin was rosy and even prettier than suit white jade. It was full of elasticity. She had beautiful eyebrows, starry eyes, a beautiful nose, and white teeth. She was really too beautiful. Not only was this woman beautiful, but she was also especially perfect in all her other traits. Knock, knock. Chen Yiling's heart palpitated. Her cheeks were rosy and she did not dare to look Song Shi in the eye. She turned her head away and said, "You're finally free, so let me go." "No, you have to continue to be my hostage for a while. I'm afraid you'll take revenge on my family." Song Shi shook his head, with the strong intelligence of the Zenith Heaven Guards. Even if he had used his false identity, they would definitely be able to find traces of his relationship with the Song family. If he was careless, Song Hai would be in trouble. "I'll make sure your family doesn't get into trouble," Chen Yiling said seriously. "I don't trust you, much less the Zenith Heaven Guards." Song Shi shook his head. "Follow me obediently, you'll be provided with food and accommodation. I guarantee that I'll raise you until you're fair and fat." Chen Yiling was speechless. She could not help but think of something this fellow had said before. She would gain weight if she was pregnant. For a moment, she was even more confused. How can my sword heart being messed up because of him? Chen Yiling reminded herself in her heart and forced herself to recite the meditation incantation. Silently, gradually, she calmed down. The redness on her face gradually dissipated, and she became dignified. A pure white light was released from her body, and there was the faint crisp sound of a sword ringing, as if an immortal had descended to the world. Of course, just by looking at her intimate posture while hugging Song Shi, she really did look like a female sword immortal. Song Shi felt that his flying sword was responding to her. If not for his control, it would have flown out. He could not help but look surprised. Was this the phenomenon of the sword body spiritual conduit? At this moment, he felt that it was not a soft girl in his arms, but a sharp sword. It actually made him feel a sharp pain, not only physically, but also mentally. Sword intent, Song Shi was deep in thought. Sword intent was spiritual will. It was a type of spiritual cultivation method that could increase the lethality of true essence and nomological power. It was said that powerful sword intent could form a sword with one's will and directly destroy the enemy's soul. He became interested and landed in a quiet forest. He threw out a formation plate to isolate the surroundings and began to observe seriously, wanting to see if he could see what was going on with her sword intent. With one look, Song Shi quickly entered the illumination state. His Dao heart illumination was similar to Chen Yiling's sword heart illumination. In theory, his Dao heart illumination was stronger, and he could not only comprehend the sword Dao. In the illumination state, Sanchi, who had never cultivated the sword Dao, quickly grasped the trick of the sword Dao. His mental will began to change. Sanchi's mental strength was powerful to begin with. He had even condensed a spirit golden core, but it was only powerful and of relatively high quality. Its lethality had not been fully developed. Now, under the guidance of the sword Dao, his spiritual force began to become sharper, like an iron stone that had been forged into a weapon. In his spiritual sea, the pure white spiritual golden core slowly revealed a sharp edge, as if it had turned into a sharp sword. The aura around Sanchi became sharper. Amidst his nomological power fluctuations, there was a faint sound of metal reverberating. The metal stats life source in his body resonated. He had two types of stats: spiritual roots, metal and fire. The source of the metal stats spiritual root fused into his body and became the foundation of his diamond spirit body. Now that this portion of power was mobilized by the sword intent, not only could it play a defensive role, but it could also unleash sharp attacks if he needed it. As Sanchi's comprehension deepened, the sharp aura on his body intensified. A crisp sword hum echoed, unknowingly forming a resonance with Chen Yiling's sword body. For a time, it was as if two peerless spirit swords had appeared, and they echoed and promoted each other from afar. When Sanchi's spirit golden core turned into a sword pill, the sword intent on Sanchi's body reached its peak. Under the influence of his resistance, the surrounding vegetation turned into powder. Even the rocks had sword marks that shattered. Runes containing sharp aura appeared on the surface of Sanchi's body like swords. The protective will-o-wisp transformed into sharp sword aura. His entire body became show-off one's ability, like a human-shaped spiritual sword. Ding, congratulations on comprehending sword intent and awakening the sword body spiritual conduit. A system notification appeared in his ears, and Sanchi was stunned. I can doff it. He pondered for a moment and realized that after combining his illumination Dao heart, sword intent, and diamond spirit body, he had an additional physique. He hurriedly checked the introduction. Low-grade sword body spiritual conduit, an excellent physique for sword Dao cultivation. It can double one's attack power. This physique can only be improved through body tempering and comprehension of the sword Dao. Sanchi could see one advantage. His attack power doubled. As for the rest, the sword body spiritual conduit focused more on the cultivation of sword intent. His physique had not changed much for the time being. However, from then on, his body gained terrifying destructive power. Unlike the diamond spirit body that was only strong and resistant to beatings, with the appearance of the sword body spiritual conduit, Sanchi felt that his every move could unleash sharp attacks. Coupled with his diamond spirit body, his body had indeed transformed into a terrifying weapon. While Sanchi was experiencing his new physique, Chen Yiling was alarmed. She opened her bright eyes and said, in disbelief, "Why do you have the sword body spiritual conduit too?"